Samuel, good evening and welcome to News in Focus, and nice to have you here in this cold evening.
Good evening, Eunice. Good evening to the listeners on a pretty cold Durban. A bit wet as well. And I think we'll warm the show up and give a perspective on the state of politics in South Africa, vis-a-vis, in this instance, the GNU, which is on the agenda, and the state of local government.
Now, let us just reflect on the statements that the President has mentioned, that, they cannot operate as though, it's business as usual, and citizens need to continue to sort of be active in the ground and request the municipalities to improve service delivery. Now, since the last elections, and you've been regularly in my show, Sam, and I think you were there when the councillors were elected, and there was this so-called coalition with the ANC, the smaller parties joined in. And since then and now, service delivery has declined considerably. And we are a year away from local government elections, and do we really see service delivery improving? Sam?
Thanks, Eunice. Look, I think I'm sure listeners can see this with their own eyes, so you don't need to be a rocket scientist to come to a conclusion. Firstly, the situation is as follows. You have a small rates base, which primarily is being funded by business, and you have a huge consumer base of municipal services who, by and large, are not contributors of rates. So what do you have? You have governments, for example, City of Joburg, City of eThekwini. They keep borrowing. This national government borrowing. And so the situation is your debt to GDP ratio is over 70-80%. In other words, you're borrowing more than you accrue as revenue. And what happens when you borrow, you got to pay back. And you're not borrowing Sharia, you're borrowing from Western banks, Western dominated banks or Western principal banks. Mm-hmm. You're paying interest. So consumers or ratepayers or residents or citizens of the city are not getting the service that they should be getting. It's been going on for 30 years.
Is it because they don't have funding, or is it because there's maladministration, fraud, corruption, lack of experience in performing the function?
Well, let's put it this way. I mean, we must call a spade a spade. In 2021, this ANC government, local government, was supposed to have been removed. They never had the numbers. They had 95 out of 222, meaning straightforward, you don't have 50% plus one. What did they do? They used every trick in the book to win the small parties over. And so just a few days ago, I was saying to Abdul, in Phoenix, Tonga, Chatsworth, Newlands East, Newlands West, Merebank, Marion Ridge, all the minority areas, including Overport, Asherville, wherever BBC is, wherever there's this interest groups, I was asked to write an article about the state of local government. And my answer is, the ANC has failed dismally. In fact, dismally is an overstatement. You come from housing, you know the housing space probably more than anybody. They can't even produce decent numerical, and I use the word numerical, the number, let's put it to this way. How do you do stats? How do you do GDP? How do you work out?
Now, Sam, I want to come to the level of, I'm not saying our listeners don't understand how budgets work, but 75% of our residents are below the poverty line. Statistics have proven that they're battling to pay for services. Many of them are pensioners, grantees, others are low income, and there's a huge degree of unemployment. Now, the basic services that our people are talking about, and our ratepayer associations are raising the same issue, municipalities failing to deliver basic services. For example, there's regular water outages. Load shedding will be starting again. Fortunately, it hasn't been around for a long time. But if you look at maintenance of the infrastructure, it's poor. And when we dissected this over a series of programs, it is abundantly clear that if a Tekwini municipality has a budget of X billion for the year, I think it's 36 or Ernest is here, he can give us the exact figures. They have an operating budget.
Let's include PMB.
They have a capital budget. If we talk about the Tekwini, but PMB is even worse. Faduguza is worse.
Yeah.
All the others are even worse. The Tekwini being the leading municipality, and we're talking about when we were there many years ago, and what's the situation now. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to pick up some things are missed, something's gone wrong. And with the same amount of money, people were able to deliver 10, 15 years ago, or even before that. And now suddenly there's a decline. And the president is now saying, he's conceding that we have a problem. But he's saying this in every election. Now, the ratepayers are saying this is an electioneering campaign. Now we have, the opposition here in Ernest Smith, but obviously in the GNU they're together, but they're raising issues. What our listeners want to know, Sam, and I want to bring in Abdul shortly, is that the employees that are appointed from the city manager downwards, it's abundantly clear that they're not delivering for one of many reasons. Either they're listening to the politicians and, embezzling funds, awarding contracts to pals, many corruption and fraudulent cases. There's no consequential management. Nobody's put behind bars as yet because there's a cover-up. So is half the funds being wasted in irregular expenditure, maladministration, fraud, corruption, that you can't use that money to deliver on the ground, starting from Zuma's area and before? So we cannot cover up the problems that are there, because if you've got the budget and you're not utilizing the budget towards service delivery, then that money is going elsewhere. So what I want to do is I want to bring in Ernest Smith quickly to explain to us that in the last budget from 1st July to 30th June, to welcome back to News in Focus live on Radio Al Ansar International, broadcasting the frequency Durban 90.4 FM, Peter Maasberg 105.6 FM, and streaming on www.alansar.org.za. Before the news break, we were chatting about service delivery, and we had Abdul Valodia from the ORA that rated service delivery 3 out of 10 in the Overport area, and he indicated some of the serious challenges of vagrancy, potholes not being fixed up, stormwater drains, water outages, etc. I'd like to bring Samuel back on air. Samuel was very anxious to come in when Abdul and Ernest were having a banter. Samuel, please come in and comment. I think when I cut you off that time, you were talking more about sort of the deficit in our GDP. But I want to bring you back to the subject. Now we need to continue with later on with the JNU and MK's fight against the dual police setup. So we got limited time. So I just want to conclude on service delivery in the municipality.
Let me start by saying, thanks, Eunice. Let me start by saying the show kicked off with the comment of the president, and voters, people, citizens, ratepayers are wanting value for their buck. Now, most will be saying, has Mr. Ramaphosa just suddenly woken up? Yes, he's woken up tactically on the basis of politicking. They know the ANC knows all the pitfalls. They know the challenges. And the challenges are vis-a-vis, primarily, they're a human resource challenge. Just remember, everything you do in life is a human resource. I remember in the year 2000, everybody said Y2K, there'll be no papers, everything will be digital, this will happen, that'll happen. It never happens. In fact, it's gone worse. The issue with eThekwini and Msunduzi, because the radio station's got a big listenership in Msunduzi, is you have a human capital problem. It's a square peg in a round hole. You have a problem where it's an issue of literacy and numeracy. Mm-hmm. And they are the majority. It's not a disrespect. It's not a categorization of a particular group of people. It's the gap between where standard operating procedure is versus entry level. It's quite wide. It's called the schism. So we need to, and this is one of the mistakes the municipalities made, not just municipality, most of them. They haven't put in what we call human resource development programs to upskill. We see it on the roads with the potholes. They fix today, next week it's tars coming up again. The same with electricity, the same with pipes, the same everywhere.
There's poor standards of service delivery.
The standard cannot be attained. And what it does, particularly...
The standard is below par, you're saying?
Very, very low. Now I've heard what Abdul said, and he's probably listening. To blame Ramona is sometimes it's an overkill. The councillor is doing her work. I'm not a member of the DA. I'm not in a million years will I be.
They may offer you an MP.
No, thank you. But let me just say
that will earn you 100K. They're part of the GNU and they're going to be government soon.
We call them bedfellows. The mistake the ANC and the DA have made, including the PA and including the IFP, is you cannot be a governing entity and an opposition at the same time. It just doesn't. It's not the right fit anywhere in the world.
You know what the DA is saying is we joined the GNU because this ANC is going downhill, and we want to bring them up a little bit, like what we've done in Cape Town and other municipalities run by the DA. And we're hoping we can bring back service delivery to a level which is probably 5 out of 10 because it's sitting at 3 out of 10. So they came to assist the municipality, and Dean McPherson and others have proven that with their limited time being involved, they sort of picking up maladministration and looking at ways and means of getting contractors to deliver. So I'm saying give it a bit of time. We're going to chat about it. The ANC backs GNU, but they have some criticism. We're going to talk about that. Now, coming back to the point that you want to make is, and I think a very important point is that human capital problem.
It's a human capital problem.
Now, if you say 75% of the problem in the municipality is incompetent staff, because they're putting pals there because those guys are their foot soldiers in the ground for elections. So they got to reward them. An individual who hardly has got any management experience, they're making him a head of a department. Mm-hmm. And below him, you've got experienced people who know more than that individual, him or her, and they can't be managed. So that's what you're saying. There's a human capital problem, and that is causing a problem in service delivery.
Can I just say for the listener, this is the nub. You see minorities in this city and in Pietermaritzburg, by and large, constitute over 22% of the populace in terms of the demographic. But if you look at the appointments in eThekwini and Msunduzi, they're actually against minorities, right? And I'm coming back to the human capital issue, which is a human resource placement problem. eThekwini, by and large, in all strategic roles, there are no minorities. And as long as you have that, because you've got to understand that up until 30 years ago, right, the education system was fraught, finished. Who's most of the people in eThekwini? Are those pre-1994? So pre-94 has nothing to do with their level of education. Most of them got degrees, most of them got this, most of them got that. But it's the level of life skill, it's the level of literacy, it's the level of numeracy, it's a level of English translation, it's a level of conceptualization, it's a level of business ethics, it's a level of integrity. Not saying that nobody's integrity.
So
but
having identified the problem, are the existing hierarchy, the councillors, EXCO, the portfolio committees, the heads of departments, they just overlooking this to say we want a particular race group to be appointed, and that's it?
Here's a simple answer. You were in that meeting with me, with Ramona, with that fella Kaunda. He was the mayor. Came with his whole team here, 20 of them.
Correct.
Deputy city managers, this, that, heads of department. They can't even fix Asherville. Still hasn't been attended to Asherville swimming pool. The point I'm making, rhetoric to come and make noise and do newspaper politics, which is what Ramaphosa is doing. People want basic services, right? People don't vote DA because they like the DA. They vote DA because they hate the ANC. But now that the ANC is a DA, the DA is the ANC, and they won. So there's 4 colors now. It's blue and white, green, red, and black, 5 colors.
We're going to challenge that
Right.
when it comes to the GNU. There's a message that comes through from Mohammed Farooq Patel. He's saying Abdul is correct. DA always throwing the buck. Tell him to check Cape Town where non-whites living. Funds in the budget is being channeled correctly to service delivery. So Sam, I'd like you to come in quickly because you were concerned that to have the DA who's supposed to be an opposition working with the ANC, that particular formula may not work, but reports coming through, it's working. So what's your take, Sam?
Thanks, Eunice. It's like saying how long is a piece of string? Everybody has a view. One of the things I didn't like when I was studying, I didn't, not necessarily like it, but it was a bit of a dull subject, was statistics. Everybody has a view on statistics, and anybody who studies statistics would tell you there's always stats in stats. Okay? Because stats you can play with. How do we measure the effect of a government, any government, whether it's local government, provincial government, or national government? You measure it by the end result. And the end result in South Africa is number 1. Inflation has not changed. Number 2, you made the point, which I seconded. The bulk of the people are living on the poverty datum line, PDL, and lower. Meaning people are struggling to put bread on the table. They're struggling to pay their bills. They are being squeezed by high interest rates, high food prices. It's not a GNU, it's a coalition government. The coalition government, led by the ANC, has not, I don't want to use the word failed, has not been effective with the DA in dealing with the issues that affect ordinary citizens. However, the reason why everybody says it's working, it's only working to keep the MK out. To keep MK out. That's a fact. What I can say to voters, to listeners, to citizens, the challenge we have is that national government has no impact on local government. Ernest made that point very clear, which we all agree. I come from that space. We're going into an election very shortly. where in this city in particular, in Pietermaritzburg, Msunduzi, MK are going to take over. And guess what's going to happen? It's going to get worse, right? Because you've got these governments of contrast. That's what they're called. And so what we need to say as citizens, what we want, how do we measure inflation, food prices, interest rates, affordability, change in people's disposable income? My learned colleague, my Hassan Matala, those are the things people want, right? JSE makes the investors more rich, doesn't make our people rich. Our people want to see bottom line savings. They want to see service delivery. They want housing lists to be reduced. They want more houses units. They want decent housing. They want potable water. Let me give you an example. This is an SOP, and I'll say it very quickly. How do we know that the water tankers, that the water's been tested? We don't know. Our people are just taking water, right? Because there's no standards. There's no standards. So what I'm saying, government at local level needs to change 360 degrees. In other words, got to do the complete opposite of what they're doing. And they got to deliver credible, proper, decent, practical, viable, feasible, cheap services without, we don't want to knock political parties, but nonetheless, we have to tell the truth. One, and I wrote an op-ed. This op-ed is currently going to be circulated to over 200,000 people in this province. And it's also going outside of the province specifically directed to dark-skinned minorities. One, don't vote for independents. Because when you vote for an independent in local government, you lose 50% of the vote. Please. Anybody, you don't need to go to school to understand that a political party gets 2 ballot papers, an independent only gets 1. Okay? Whether you know the guy. 2, don't vote for one-man parties because they sell your vote out.
Okay.
With no disrespect.
Correct, relevant, important.
Abdul Valodia was sitting here. He spoke about a PR councillor called Imtiaz Said. What he forgot, it's just down the road here, is a councillor called Aslam Shahid. He's a TA councillor. What has he done? He's never been here. He's not vocal.
Okay, so what you're saying is the first part is to consider voting for a councillor that links to a political party so that PR vote comes in.
Yeah.
Now, the selection of that political
party. I'm getting there.
Right.
I'm getting there. So choose wisely. Try not to vote independent because you're just wasting a vote. 3, we know for a fact that the ANC will go from 95 seats in 2021, they'll go down to about 30 seats. Fact. We've seen that. How do we measure it?
That's your prediction.
No, you measure it on facts, historical facts. You look at 17% of 2024 election.
So you're saying MK is going to take the balance?
MK will take the balance.
That's a prediction.
However,
right.
For the minority, because remember, the bulk of the people we talk to are minorities. Right? I've never been wrong on this program for the last 5 years. However, minorities constitute up to 25% of the city.
So you're talking specifically eThekwini and Gauteng?
I'm talking eThekwini now, right?
You're not talking other provinces?
Not other provinces.
So to rectify eThekwini, you're saying the ANC will come down to what percentage?
I think they'll come down to I'll talk about seats.
No, I'm talking about percentage of the votes. 20, 30%?
20%? They'll come down to about 20.
20. And
22.
MK will get what percent?
MK will come up to about 40.
Right.
Right.
And the DA will
The
around?
DA is never grown.
So it'll be about 22%.
The DA will sit there at 50-something seats.
No, 22%.
Whatever, 22, 23%.
So ANC 20%, DA 22%.
Yeah.
And the balance of power will be the minorities.
Balance of power with the minorities.
Minorities have to link up either with the ANC and the DA to get power.
No. When you vote one seat party, one man led parties, you have no control. We've seen it as to how they cast their allegiance.
So how would the minorities link up with which political party?
We minorities, and I've put it in the op-ed, minorities need to seriously consider, do they want to join, do they want to align, continue aligning with the DA? Let me give you an example of the DA quickly. There's 5 wards in Phoenix, DA wards. Abdul is complaining about Overport, DA ward. The very ANC is stifling them. The very ANC coalition partner in national is stifling them.
Hold on, Sam will come to the debate in another show. What are you coming to?
The point I'm coming to
is that you're saying the minorities have to choose a party.
Minorities need to be.
There's parties that are linked to the GNU who are likely to control municipalities in the trend that's following. Now, if they join MK, can MK deliver? And if the answer is no, they're going to get worse. Then who do they join to improve service delivery?
Minorities need to remain kingmakers. And let me tell you the difference.
To remain kingmakers, you said that they must join a party, because if they're independent, then they become kingmakers.
Minorities need to do some serious introspection as to what do they want. Because they first voted ANC.
We're running out of time. I want to stop you there on the basis that you brought up a consideration that's very important, to the point where you mentioned that those 10% of minorities can make the difference. They need to decide which parties they link up with to make the majority in municipalities to improve service delivery. Are these parties linked to the GNU, yes or no? Or do they vote for the radical parties? That's a discussion for another day.
Correct.